Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a first look at some huge Overlord map changes. Overlord's been a map that's always been a bit controversial within the game. It's been permablocked by many a player. I mean, personally, I had this map permablocked for a very long time. But Wargaming have taken notice of that, and they're making some pretty huge changes to address what many players consider to be the big issues. Well, there's going to be basically two main changes here. One is going to be picking up the map and moving it inland, and the other is just going to be a general redesign and creation of some new gameplay space. So, let's have a look at what that actually looks like. So, this is what Overlord currently looks like. Looking at it from the beach angle, so coming inland. So, you know, lots of heavy tanks like to go down here and they fight it out down here. It's normally pretty stagnant. It's normally pretty stale. You know, tanks can shoot at you from behind on the cliff. It's just not a good map design. And they've taken note of that, and they have moved the entire map inland, like I said. You can now no longer play the beach. The beach is gone. Completely deleted, barring a few tiny bits at either end of the map, which is likely going to be where artillery go and sit. And some lovely locations at either end for artillery to go and drown themselves in. But, great change, the beach is gone. Well, if the beach is gone, which it clearly has, that means we've lost a lot of playable space over here. So, in order to address that, they're going to have created some new gameplay space. So, this is what it currently looks like on the east of the map, so normally where the light tanks, the medium tanks, the TDs play. So this is what it looks like currently. You know, it's pretty stagnant, pretty stale. You know, TDs sit back here, the mediums fight it out here, and this is what it looks like now. As we can see, the map has been extended 200 meters inland to account for the 200 meters of land lost when they've deleted the beach. So this is going to have created one hell of a lot more playable spaces out here. Playable spaces for medium tanks, light tanks, TDs, maybe even heavy tanks. So, we're going to have a little bit more of a detailed look now at actually what this might mean in terms of, like, gameplay. So, this is what it looks like now on the beach side again. So, we can see there's a new passageway up here, which is likely going to mean that you can maybe play like a hull down here if the enemy team are progressing along this way. Looks like there's this kind of bunker still here and like a bush here. Looks like you've still got the kind of general areas alongside the cliff, which is interesting. It looks like this entire middle section here, which is normally where the heavy tanks, which don't go to beach play, is pretty unchanged, which is good. Looks like maybe there's some new changes over this way, kind of in towards the middle, where the bunkers have been slightly moved to account for the fact that the beach is no longer there. That's pretty interesting. But in general, from the south side, it looks like there's not particularly been any major changes to the kind of what will now be the playable spaces. There's just a couple of new passageways, a couple of new maybe hull downs, a slight rework of some of the TD positions back here. But let's have a look at it from the other angle. So this is what it looks like now from the north. So yeah, once again, we can see there's now a bit of a hull down, a passageway up here, which is going to be interesting to play for tanks with gun depression. Looks like this hasn't been particularly reworked here. No, pretty similar, no extra bushes or anything. Looks like this area here, which used to be a little bit of a slope down, has been slightly reworked. So maybe that's no longer a dip, which used to be played as a hull down. And it looks like we've got some kind of like a new rock formation here. Some new kind of like a bunker and some rocks. So that is new. That is a rework, that is for sure. So that's interesting. Maybe it slightly changes how you play the lower side here as you kind of play off this corner. But it shouldn't have particularly any impact on how you play this area and then on the other side, the same area. So that looks pretty good in my opinion. That is removing one of the big issues with this map, which was the beach. Tanks going onto the beach. Your team taking less tanks to the beach than the enemy team. You lose the beach, you lose the top side, you just die. The beach was always kind of a trap, because once you're on it, you're on it. The only really way you get off it is by winning it, or by falling back, in which case you can't particularly fall back. So it was always that kind of like, you take too much of the beach, you lose the top side, you die because they're above you. You don't take enough, you lose it, you die because your team, yeah, it was always just really bad map design. But let's now forget about the beach, and let's have a look at the new playable spaces which have been created. So, We still have our church, which was here before. We've still got this kind of mound, which was here. And we've still got this kind of area here, which is like a dip where tanks will play into and play quite aggressively. Most likely where light tanks are now going to play. Whereas previously when the map was a lot smaller, the light tanks used to play along here. But now this is here. This is going to have created a lot more playable space and a lot more tanks for light tanks to spot playing further back. So the bushes around here still, the bushes along this ridgeline here, maybe even a little bit more passively back here, will be pretty good spots for light tanks. Then we have a ridge back, which was here before, but wasn't definitely not this pronounced and definitely not this important. This is now going to be pretty important for medium tanks. You know, medium tanks playing here, shooting into this alleyway here, and then on the other side, shooting into this alleyway here. TD positions, loads of bushes back here. You know, we're talking some of the bushes back here, maybe. Definitely the TDs are going to be trying to play this ridge line, maybe here as well. It's just created a whole new avenue of playing positions. You know, there's angles back here to hold if you've lost this flank. You know, there's ridge lines to play off with gun depression. It just looks really positive, in my opinion. And at the end of the day, this is what it looks like before from the north. This is what it looks like now. It's just created a whole new... It's basically created a Overlord to be a whole new map. You know, the playstyle for the beach side is gone. Now you basically play the top of the cliffs. That's pretty similar with just some small, slight reworks. But the entire field side has been reworked. Previously, TDs used to love to sit here. This was basically a TD's favorite position, was to sit in the bushes here, because you shoot down this alleyway here. You can shoot anything that peaks high on here, anything which was over here. But now this position, you know, it's still pretty important. It's still going to be played. However, you've now got all of these trees here. You've got this kind of like rocky cliff here with a rock to play next to. You've got some houses with some trees and bushes next to over here, which are going to be much better positions. You know, once again, you've got our light tanks being able to play into here underneath this ridge, medium tanks here, maybe even aggressive mediums taken to here. It's just opened up a whole new range of possibilities for this side of the map, which is going to make for progression. Because there is progression at the end of the day. You know, your team wins the field, you can progress up a ridge line. Instead of just having to cross an open field, you cross over a ridge, you cross around a ridge, into another dip. So there's the opportunity for progression to get closer to the tank destroyers, to spot them out and then kill them, instead of having to cross an open field, which is pretty much what you had to do before. And it's just going to create a whole new variety of gameplay in a very useful and inventive way. I don't think we've ever seen Wargaming basically pick up a map and move it before. I don't believe we've actually ever seen that. We've seen them expand map borders, so turning smaller maps into bigger maps, but I don't think we've actually seen them pick up a 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer map and move it inland, for example. So it's a really clever way to solve the issue of the map being the beach and the lack of diversity of play styles on the field. They've deleted the beach and created a whole new wide variety of play styles and playing positions and opportunities on the field. And one position I've just seen is, this looks like a dip in here. Maybe this is going to be like an incredible position to play like hull down in like a heavy tank, or like a heavily armored medium tank with gun depression, to be able to like counter this kind of area into here. That might be really strong. It looks like there's probably one from the other side as well. But my opinions on this map change are pretty strong, because I've always had a little bit of an issue with this map. I mean, personally, I've had it perma-blocked for a long time, and it's only recently that I've unblocked it just to try it out again. And, you know, I still have the same issues I did back then. Them basically solving that issue by deleting the beach and creating this whole new wide variety of playstyles on the field is great. Really like it, Wargaming. Really good change. And I've just found this image. I didn't realize that there was any more images, but this gives us a really nice overview of the field now. So we've got like the two bowls, the three bowls, the two bowls in the far field and the middle bowl still existing. On the outside of the bowls, on the red line, looks like there's some really nice angles for progression to be able to move up rock to rock to rock and be able to fight against the other tanks. Looks like this side, the south side is going to be slightly stronger in that aspect, because it's got this rock here, whereas the northern team only really has this kind of like half gun bunkery kind of thing. But still, it's creating progression. And, you know, maybe this side gets to this position slightly quicker so they can play into this rock here, play into this bunker here. I don't know. That's all stuff that We'd have to wait for a playtest to find out. But at the end of the day, Wargaming, mad props to you, because at the end of the day, you are listening to the community. You are giving us something. You know, obviously, this is very early days at the end of the day. We don't, you know, we wouldn't be expecting to see this map and its changes come into effect until probably mid-2025, I'd say at the earliest. But Wargaming are listening. They are starting to change those maps which the community feel really strongly about. Those maps which the community block the most, because, you know, they will have data on that. And they're starting to make the changes, and they're starting to make positive changes. That's the most important thing. They're not just making changes. They're listening to what the community don't like about that map, or the issues the community have with that map, and they're making changes based upon that, which I think is really important. And I encourage them and I implore them to continue doing it, because at the end of the day, positive map changes like this is what keeps the game fresh. New maps is what keeps the game fresh. And by basically redesigning an old map in this kind of style, does give it that kind of new feeling for a period of time, which is all but good, and only is good for the map and for the game. So, if you did enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out the 2 videos that are on screen now. One which will be very similar to this one on Highway, and the other one which will be a playlist for all of the upcoming map changes. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next one.